Y'all can probably tell I am recording outdoors again today because it's just way too nice to be inside. So if you hear a little wind and a little bird call, it'll be just like we're sitting out on the porch. Oh, I've been thinking, did I send y'all that recipe from Grandma, the one with the lime jello and coleslaw? Oh, good. I didn't send it because I want y'all to be happy, so don't fool with that one. How about instead I give you a little story? Let me tell you, it happened on a peculiar Thursday last July. That day unraveled like a badly knit sweater. It compared to a rag of dropped stitches and uneven sleeves. It was terrible. If we could frog a day, it would have been that one. Our friend, Pippa Bird, is the owner of the Maladjusted Sheep. That is our yarn emporium. And she arrived at 9:30 on the dot for the shop to be open promptly by 10. She did this every weekday except Monday. They close on Mondays because everybody needs a break, and most people are broke the first day after a weekend. Pippa has opened her store the same way for years. Park in the side lot under the crepe myrtle, grab your keys, and start the day. Simple, right? Simple, yes, right up until the moment it wasn't. Her normally cheerful face crumpled just a little. The back door was not itself. Its lock had clearly been defeated by a rogue pig. Pippa approached nervously. She was quite disquieted. The door hung open like a gossipy neighbor's jaw. Now, surely there's a reasonable explanation. Agnes, are you here? Pippa called out. Her voice was getting a little thready. That seemed the most reasonable explanation, that her assistant, the talented Mrs. Agnes Morales, was here ahead of her. Hola, mija, Agnes answered from behind her and nearly scared her pantsless. Come here, Agnes. You see this too, right? Tell me I'm not imagining things. I found the door like this. I think we've been burgled, and the person doing the burgling might still be in there. Jeffrey Saucer, the shop's cat that lived with Agnes. He's an intense and seriously orange tabby, and he clung to her shoulder like a furry, judgmental corsage. He jumped down and ran into the store where he expected breakfast to be served as usual. Break in be darned, he says. Agnes ran in after him without a thought to her own safety, and possibly to protect a thief from the cat who was getting a little hangry. Well, no one was in there. The emporium was quiet and empty of people and a little bit scary. Someone had definitely been there. Agnes, are you all right? You come back here now, you'll be murdered. Agnes appeared from behind a display of pastel cotton cakes, looking like she had already wrestled a grumpy alpaca, and her beehive hairdo, usually perfectly coiffed, was a little bit askew. Did we forget to stock that shelf, Pippa? My mind isn't what it once was, and I think we might have missed a bit. Pippa's jaw hits the floor at what she sees. No, we didn't forget. We would never forget to stock a completely bare shelf. Agnes, that was the entire display of superwash merino and wool blends of greater than 50% wool, 2 and 3 weight, lightweight colors and whites, gone, all gone, it's all vanished. Pippa puts on the kettle because that's what one does in time of crisis, carefully pouring the tea into 2 delicate china cups. It's true. It's so true. The display is empty as a wine glass, shorn like a sheep, naked as a jaybird, and at that Agnes nearly faints. Pippa quickly nabs the cup and helps her friend to the sofa. Maybe we have the folie à deux. We are of an age to start going a little bit off, and that's not a very nice thing to say in this moment, and Pippa thinks that right after she says it. This is so easy. We'll have tea and have another look, and everything will be back to normal. None of this will ever have happened. We are sharing a delusion. But Pippa's ears avoided those words because they knew a lie when they heard one, and a second week look didn't really improve anything. Santa cielo! But where? It's all vanished into thin air. Kapoof! Perhaps fairies? Yarn squirrels with a penchant for luxury? Oh, well, there's nothing that fantastical, I'm sure, Agnes. This is a very real situation. Should we call the police? I'm calling the police. No, we shouldn't call the police. Well, maybe we should. We have to report it, but what do we do? Oh, Pippa. The police will think we're nutty old birds and laugh at us. It won't be as important to them as it is to us, and how can you trust a sheriff that has wild ferrets in his beard? You're right as always, and I'm lucky to have you. Diverting police resources from brutal crimes just to go after missing Marino seems selfish. But we can't let it slide either. Somewhere out there, there's a knitter or a crocheter with impossibly light fingers and is probably purring over their amazing haul right now. Maybe it was a cat burglar. Oh, I think my heart tried to attack me, moans Agnes. Oh, dear God, do you need a doctor? No, I'll be all right in a minute. Jeffrey Saucer did his slow blink and fixed on the back door, really wishing he had a cat flap. His expression was unreadable, but having been left on his own for breakfast with two of his favorite squeeze-ups, he's probably going to be okay. The mystery of the missing Marino would just have to wait another minute. Pulses were slowing and tea is doing its job. As if they had the idea at the same time, they shout a name together. Violet! Pippa stood as tall as she could, with her scant 5-foot stature, eyes scanning the familiar shelves, still hoping it was all going to be a bad dream, that she'd wake up, find that she slept in, and this would all go away, nothing more than a night terror. Although she's never had one, this must be exactly that. Violet Crow made a quiet entrance, the retired private eye with the sharp gaze and sharper mind. Now that she's retired, she don't have to work that much. She takes only cases that interest her or people that really need her. And Pippa was a good friend of more years than they cared to count. It was a given that she would help. Pippa sighed with relief as she takes in the sight of her friend, Violet Alouette Crow, striding into the room with an air of unassuming command. Violet's steely gaze, framed by a wild coil of silver hair, immediately starts sweeping the area with the precision of a seasoned investigator. Despite her retired status, Violet's sharp mind and unwavering resolve shine through, leaving no doubt that she is still a force to be reckoned with. Her usual practical attire, consisting of cargo pants, sturdy footwear, and a crisp button-down shirt, hinted at a woman prepared for any eventuality. Casual ease, but not sloppy, and of course, the obligatory fanny pack. Well, Pippa, my dear, she said, her voice carrying just a hint of gravel, it seems we have a mystery on our hands, and I, for one, cannot resist a good puzzle. Pippa felt a rush of gratitude for her friend's presence, knowing that Violet's brilliant deductive skills and comforting nature would be an invaluable asset in the face of this existential crisis. Tell me everything, Violet urged, her gaze softening with compassion. No detail is too small, and even if you think it's unrelated, please share. Let's unravel this nightmare together. And with that, Pippa felt the weight lift from her shoulders as she recounts the events that had led her right to this moment, confident that with Violet by her side, they could face whatever lay ahead with courage, resolve, and a healthy dose of humor. Of course, Violet is accompanied by her faithful dog, Blue. He has to go with her everywhere because he can let himself out of any crate Violet gets. She's been through all kinds of kennels and enclosures, and he can let himself out of all of them and commit blatant doggy crimes. And what he finds most fun and amusing is stripping off the bed and the sofa and putting all the pillows in the bathtub. She is thankful that he hasn't yet figured out how to turn the water on. It's a yarn heist, Violet, in my store. Can you believe it? Pippa's voice is a mixture of disbelief and agitation. And not just any yard, but my prized merino superwash and wool blends of over 50%. The thief has good taste. She reached into her pocket and fidgeted with her stitch markers, and that was a telltale sign of her nervousness. It always has been. The maladjusted sheep, a yarn emporium that smells perpetually of tea and possibility, is now crying out for help. Violet adjusts her glasses and narrows her eyes and takes another look at the scene. I'm glad you called, Pips. We're dealing with a semi-professional here. She paused, her gaze fixed on the back door. Those scratch marks don't align with any key marks. A true professional would not have left such telltale signs. No footprints and nothing else touched. The cash drawer and the desk were untouched. Going over every inch of the shop, nothing else was touched. Meanwhile, Blue had snuck himself on the sofa next to Agnes, who was feeding him cookies. They took only the light colors, 2 and 3 weights. Pippa is pacing and throwing up her hands. Precisely. And the spring flowers that you mentioned, a subtle scent lingering in the air. When did you notice that? Well, as we were getting Jeffrey his breakfast. Spring flowers, iris to be exact. I haven't had spring flowers in the shop since spring. Blue, up and at it. Take a sniff around. Violet commands of her subordinate. Foof! Blue's enthusiastic answer as he went nose down and tail up. He's learned his craft from the best and loved contributing to the investigations. Returning with his report, Foof woof! Violet translate. He says, fluffy yarn bits, go to the alley, and Jeffrey's thimble is missing. Jeffrey's thimble, the one with the tiny gnome? That's the very one. Oh my goodness, he'll be devastated. Jeffrey is still staring out the back door without blinking. Well, he doesn't look too devastated, poor kitty. Perhaps the gnome had something to do with this knotted conspiracy. Oh, don't be ridiculous, Violet, it's a thimble. Agnes gave Blue a cookie for his good work. And Blue is always happy with cookies. Okay, so what happened next? Well, nothing else is missing. Tools and notions all accounted for. My desk is pristine. OCD much, Pips? You are a bit of a neat freak for someone who runs a craft shop. Oh, she says, I am just meticulously organized. Same as OCD, right? Meticulously organized. So, a heist motivated not by profit, but by a love of exquisite wool. Well, there's no other yarn stores for miles. The nearest one is Fiber Fair, one town over, and I should call them and let them know because this might be a serial thief and who knows what could happen. Well, the thief is a connoisseur and knows where to find the best. Perhaps they wanted to knit something they needed. Maybe they were cold, Pippa said hopefully. But then she remembered that this is July and no further charitable thoughts were extended. Okay, Pips, I'm going out in the alley and we're going to start with what you showed me. Well, good luck and stay safe, Pippa says. The gnome as well as the yarn will be found, Violet assures. They may be making a sweater for a very, very large dog, Agnes adds and rubs Blue's muzzle. Well, this is going to be a complicated case, so I'll call you later. And Pips? She says, yeah. No worries, girl, we got this. Our Violet has an uncanny knack for attracting the unusual cases, and this one's no different. What she knew so far is that the theft was definitely targeted, only specific items taken and nothing else. Weird, right? Well, she finds herself back in the alley, deciding to just pick a place and dig in, because this case isn't going to solve itself. Just to the right of the recycle bin, there's a pile of fluff. How strange. And a yard ahead, another one, pursuing a trail that snaked its way onward towards more clues. It was a scene of obvious staged deception. Either this thief was a raw rookie or they wanted to be caught. The fluffy fibers were placed in a place where they were sure to be seen, and there was about inch-long pieces twisted into small arrow shapes that all point in the same direction, and the delicate floral scent. Wow! This was a theatrical flourish that Violet thought was a nice touch. This curious chase, shared with her by Jeffrey Saucer, the perpetually serious cat, leads them on to whatever destination the thief wants them to find. Violet thinks, oh my, this is stupid. I'm armed only with pepper spray and a grumpy cat, and who knows who one might meet in an alley. Blue had stayed behind with Agnes at the shop. She might have fainted if he left, and that wasn't going to happen on his watch. Besides, there were treats. Violet also thought it might be a good idea for the girls to have some protection in place, just in case. Well, the thief wants to get busted by leaving a blatant trail for Violet and Jeffrey. Jeffrey, with his characteristic solemnity, patted inquisitively ahead. I'll be darned, she thinks. That cat knows where he's going. Well, no more than 2 blocks and around the corner, their investigation culminated at the steps of the Laurel Reed studio. It's an old industrial space that has become a kaleidoscope of color and creativity. It is a haven, overflowing with yarn and fabric and scents she don't recognize but don't find unpleasant. Laurel Reed is a striking young woman in paint-splattered overalls and her braids piled up on her hair. She is a fiber artist of uncommon genius. Her life is a vibrant work woven from wool and passion. But like so many young people, she is financially strapped, overflowing with creative fire as she lives a hand-to-mouth existence. Her art speaks volumes, but her bank account is very, very quiet. Her sassy demeanor and outspoken nature mask a soul struggling under the weight of her circumstances. It is a hardship. Coupled with an unwavering devotion to her craft, it's driven her to a desperate act. Aphrodite is her sleek brown tabby cat with little white markings on her face. What a cutie. A constant companion and confidant has watched from the sidelines as the stolen wool yielded a yarn of unparalleled beauty. The discovery was better than gold or jewels. This was a revolutionary dyeing technique that Laurel held deeply, deeply secret. The air, with the delicate fragrance of irises, rises. Violet knew that she had found what she was supposed to find. Further investigation unveiled that Aphrodite was wearing Jeffrey's thimble on her collar. Oh, a playful taunt. Jeffrey, usually very stoic, found himself captivated by Aphrodite's mischief, and his serious demeanor melted away to a gentle purr. That's why that rascal wanted out. He's got a girlfriend. Laurel, with a knowing smile, had fostered their burgeoning feline romance, showering them with generous portions of tuna, a picnic for 2 of the love-struck felines, and a bit of happiness in these trying times. The theft was Laurel's desperate cry for recognition amidst her financial ruin, and had transformed into a heartwarming tale of artistic passion and feline affection. And you really can't stay mad at somebody who's nice to cats. A rack of newly dyed yarn stood in the breezeway just outside the door, and Violet could not stop staring. She could hardly concentrate at the task at hand. So, Laurel, began her voice a little rumbly, you pilfered Pippa's special yarn? Violet clicked her mint annoyingly on her teeth. She's trying to be abrasive. Guilty as charged, Your Honor, Laura chirped and bounced on her toes. But I have noble intent. Noble intent involving lockpicking and involving these defenseless animals, Pippa asked. Noble intent involving lockpicking and involving these defenseless animals, Violet asked, arching her eyebrows. Jeffrey's thimble was, only borrowed, Laurel offered, eyes wide and warm. Desperate times, Laurel sighed. My revolutionary new dyeing technique demands top-quality materials, and the price was, prohibitively expensive, Laurel confirmed. Pippa would never let me run a test using her good stock. Meaning, Violet prompted, her eyes sharp and missing nothing. Theft, Laurel admitted. hung her head and gave a very shy shrug. A calculated risk to transform the yarn and prove its potential. Then return it to the shop with exclusive selling rights. Now, I'm not proud of what I did, but I did what had to be done and I'm ready to come clean. You risk jail for yarn? Violet asked, incredulous. Well, wouldn't you? And it's not just yarn, Laurel declared. It is a masterpiece. Violet inspected the yarn with a slight gasp. It is breathtaking. The colors, the texture, and the scent, Laurel added. A delicate floral aroma, like spring meadows after a rain. And the fragrance fades over time, but the color is here forever. How could you be so sure it would work? Violet demanded. Well, a minuscule sample test, ma'am, Laurel insisted, but I needed larger scale to show the true potential. You know Pippa will decide the next move, right? Arrest is possible. Compensation is necessary. Jail is possible. It depends on if you have a prior record. Oh, dear. Will I have to face the sheriff, the one with the ferret in his beard? Laurel's eyes she grimaced. I will have to report the break-in. And, Aphrodite, Violet asked, completely changing the subject, is she involved in your artistic endeavors? Only to the point that she fell madly in love with that handsome Jeffrey. I encouraged the romance knowing that he would lead you right here. But she is strictly anti-theft, Laurel stated firmly, unless, of course, it involves tuna, and in that case she is not to be trusted. Laurel wrapped the yarn carefully and packaged it beautifully, ready to be given back to Pippa with an explanation and a very sincere apology. Pippa was hesitant at first, but she listened, and she did eventually understand that Laurel's desperate situation, and she negotiates a deal. No more lock-picking, promise, and get some therapy. From now on, all deals go through the front door. The ferret-bearded sheriff need not be involved. The new yarn process remains your secret, but the maladjusted sheep gets a 6-month exclusive deal, and in that time, you can perfect your technique with non-stolen product. It was agreeable to both, and the deal was made. The yarn is exquisite, perfect, in fact. Everything any fiber artist could want, sumptuous texture, deep, rich color. Whatever Lauren was doing with it was nothing short of a miracle, and the fragrance of iris heavenly, and we have no idea what part the iris plays in the process, but we are told it is integral. This is too special to keep quiet. A release party to introduce the new fiber is planned for 2 weeks on a Saturday. Laurel is over the moon. She's ready to share her talent with the world. She was provided with supplies and then got busy. Agnes starts working on samples. She has nothing but good things to say. The fiber knits and crochets equally well. Agnes nearly faints again, but this time from happiness, and Blue, of course, is to the rescue. The release party is growing into a big event, an artist fair everybody wants in. The local sheep farmers come and give shearing demonstrations. A whole sheep-to-shop thing is happening. Mrs. Lamb shows off her shuttle tatting. Mr. Quartermain is setting up a quilting frame. This is going to be so interesting. Agnes handles the knitting. Violet shows crochet. Pippa handles the sails, and Laurel brings a small weaving loom. People come from all over, signed up for classes and bought supplies. Laurel can hardly contain her excitement. This means so much to her. A little less poverty, a little more tuna. The technique stays her secret for now, but Laurel sees the future of knitwear and fashion taking off with her name on some of it. A deep, long sigh of satisfaction that has been a very, very long time in coming. So in the end, art was discovered, friendships formed, transgressions forgiven, and promises kept. Not bad for a peculiar Thursday in July. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you next time.